August the 8th, episode 201 of AEW Dynamite was on the air. I'm sorry, August the 9th. So we're going to talk about the show. Some of it good, some of it not so good in terms of storyline stuff. But they're trying. They're still trying. So let's start out with some news and notes. Let's start with this absolute poser, Matt Jackson. So Matt Jackson, I guess, was on the Swerve City podcast and started talking about, how he wished there were unions in pro wrestling. All right, let's see here. He says, it's sad that wrestling hasn't figured that out yet, and we don't have the union thing. Will we ever have it? I don't know. It's almost like your question earlier. Will wrestling be more like the NBA and have contracts like that? Maybe not till the day a union is finally created. Oh, really? It's a shame we don't have a union in pro wrestling, huh? Very interesting, considering you're an executive in a professional wrestling company. Now, of course, he can't, as an executive, start a union himself, even though he probably could if he wanted to. He can suggest it, though. He can get the boys together and get them to have a vote if he wanted to. To me, this is completely, totally poser conversation. This guy doesn't want any union in pro wrestling. You think that these guys want NBA contracts? You should be talking to the person who writes the front of those checks when you talking about this stuff, right? But let's get to the meat of the conversation. Pro wrestling ain't the NBA. All right? AEW certainly isn't the NBA. And it's not the NFL. NBA and NFL contracts are structured differently. They're two different sports. The NFL and the NHL, two different sports. MLB and all of these leagues, they have different contracts. SAG-AFTRA and UAW, not everything works the same. These have to be tailor-made. Okay? So, no, it won't be like the NBA. No, it won't be like the NFL. It will be something different. And you don't know. But I can tell you this, the absolute structure of every union is about labor protections. And labor protections is all about two things. One, monopoly on labor, which is increasing costs. And two, limiting labor, which increases the costs. And when I say costs, I mean cost to the employer. So by having a monopoly on labor, the union controls all of the labor. They control all the workers. Just like the unions right now in Hollywood, they say you can't do anything. You can't do nothing. You're under the auspices of the union. You can't do what the union doesn't want you to do. That means that labor becomes scarce because they can control it. It's a monopoly on labor. The second thing is by having more demands, benefits, days off, yada, 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 you increase the cost of labor. Artificially, because it's not done through the market, it's done through demand. And it's done in groups, clumps. That's what's called collective bargaining. You might be able to get away with having a Brock Lesnar or a Roman Reigns, somebody like that, one or two guys on the roster who get certain privileges and yada, yada, yada. But if you got to deal with 50 of those people, well, now you change the entire economy of your business. So he doesn't really want a union in this company. Because it would actually take time to sit down and think about this and break it down. He doesn't really want to do that. Okay? He just wants to pander to his fan base, which is what CM Punk is doing with that silly t-shirt, which is why I refuse to go down the rabbit hole of arguing with people about it. I'm just not going to buy the shirt and I don't support it. I know he's just pandering. This is what pandering people do. He's no different than a politician. He will tell you anything except the truth. He's virtue signaling, all right? It would be really great if we had a union in pro wrestling. Oh, well. And it's like, yeah, I bet. But here's the second part of what he said. He says, one thing I was thinking of is during the pandemic, when a lot of these people couldn't create shows and original content, AEW really thrived because we are the only things still going, right? So that's the one thing, at least, when we're talking about the whole SAG strike. If it goes 6 months, maybe at least we'll benefit from that a little bit, and they'll watch our show. We'll have original content every week because that's what we do. Wrestling just keeps on moving, no matter what. A pandemic couldn't stop AEW, so maybe we get a few more eyeballs. I'm trying to think of anything positive to come out of this. Hey, isn't that exactly what Seth Rollins said? That's almost exactly what Seth Rollins said. Hey, this SAG-AFTRA thing sucks for them, and maybe, hey, I support them, but the longer that goes on, the more chance we got to people turning into our show. Because wrestling never stops. We're going to keep creating new original content. So the criticism that we launched at Seth Rollins can also be launched at Matt Jackson. Oddly enough, you don't see any of the same criticisms. You see a lot of people criticizing him for the union comment. Almost nobody criticizing him for this part of his comment, which is the exact same thing that Seth Rollins got dragged about a week or so ago for saying. Oh, well, but guess what? Everybody's thinking the same way because this is a competitive market. You're trying to compete for eyeballs. If somebody is deciding to take themselves out of the conversation, then absolutely you should be thinking about a way to get people's attention. Of course you should. Why shouldn't you? If you are in business and your business is getting eyeballs, getting asses in seats, you want to get as many people as possible. If Hollywood wants to shoot themselves in the balls by dicking around with unions and all this kind of stuff, fine. You go the other way. We don't got no union. We're going to keep creating new original content. We're going to keep doing more stuff and trying to get our stars out there on television and doing things, and if it gets more eyeballs, good. If it doesn't, well, at least the competition took itself out of the picture, especially if the consumer is not really the fan, but the TV network, because the TV network knows, above all else, the wrestling company ain't going on strike. So guess what? They can rely on you. You become more reliable. And if you become more reliable, you become more valuable. You become more reliable, you become more valuable, you get paid more money. Then you get paid more talent. And you get paid more for the talent that you have. So guess what? It works out either way. So why all of these guys running around here talking about how they support the union, yada, 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 but hopefully it works out for us. That's really what they're trying to say, is hopefully we can prove our value to the network because we're not taking ourselves out of the pool. We're going to be here providing you content. We're going to hope people are watching it, of course. We hope people come into the buildings and buy tickets and merchandise, absolutely. But the biggest part of both pro wrestling companies' checkbook right now is their TV rights, okay? So they know for a fact if TBS, TNT, USA, and Fox, if they want more content, they can produce more content because they're not bound by any rules that can stop them from producing content. So that's the benefit right there. And they can't say that because it sounds cold-blooded. Oh, wrestlers are... I saw somebody say this, wrestlers are... They said they're the most selfish people on earth. They don't care about other people. I was like, man, these people got families. Who else are they supposed to care about? I mean, literally ask yourself that question. Whenever somebody goes on and on and on about Hulk Hogan and Jesse the Body Ventura, like, Hulk Hogan got a family. Why is she sitting back here thinking about Coco Beware's family? He got his own family to consider. He got his own life to live. You keep trying to act like everybody can jump on the same boat and then the boat tips over and everybody drowns. That's how you thinking. That's what happens in the auto industry. That's what happens. That's what's happening right now in Hollywood. There's too many people on the boat. You didn't hit the Titanic. The water's coming in. We got a couple of lifeboats, but we're going to try to put everybody on the lifeboats. And then the boats tip over and everybody drowns anyway because you tried to save everybody. When you should know you can't save everybody. And that's what the problem with unions already. It creates a problem when you try to save everybody, even people who don't provide any value. It's a problem. You can't do that. That cannot last forever. So I don't believe he believes it. Because only you have to be a goddamn knucklehead to believe it. So he's right, of course. In so much as that you can provide value to the network. Hopefully you get more eyeballs, but hopefully the right eyeballs are watching. and they see that you want to produce content, you're a good TV partner, you're not in competition with the network, you're in cooperation with the network, and things turn out well for you in the end. Before we get into Dynamite, I want to make congratulations to Buddy Matthews and Rhea Ripley. Apparently they're going to get married. That's very cool. Buddy Matthews he was under a lot of pressure, man. He's under a lot of pressure. There's too many thirst traps being posted of Rhea Ripley around here. There's too many people, namely fans, and Dominic, the after his girl, so he had to up his game. He's feeling the pressure, he's feeling the heat. He was like, all right, I gotta do something drastic. I gotta go propose. I gotta do something. I gotta hurry up. So congratulations to all of you who was responding to the thirst traps of Rhea Ripley on Twitter and Instagram. You really pushed your boy Buddy Matthews to take the leap, So that's very cool. All right, let's get into this raggedy show. All right. So we got the Jericho Appreciation Society mandatory meeting, in which everybody basically leaves Chris Jericho for pretty much the same reason, that Jericho is selfish and they're not getting anything out of this organization, which is called the Jericho Appreciation Society, not the Jericho Appreciates You Society. So what the hell did you were joining a cult of worshiping Chris Jericho. What did you think was going to happen? So instead of going one by one and talking about each individual promo, I wanted to highlight that Ty Conti is not a good promo. I want to highlight that Anna Jay is not a good promo. Not at all. The two guys from 2.0, I still don't know who their names are. The skinny one had a really strong promo. The fat one had a strong promo too. But I didn't really understand his promo because he's like, Jericho, I was sleeping in my car. I was eating charcoal and Jericho saved my life. But now all of a sudden I hate him. It's like, Jericho didn't do anything to you. Like Daniel Garcia being mad and Sammy Guevara, of course. That makes sense. Ty mad, Sammy's mad. Okay, they go together. That makes sense. What did Jericho do to Skinny and Fat 2.0? What did he do to those guys? He didn't do anything to those guys. What did he do to Jake Hager? He didn't do anything to those guys. So, at the very least, we're looking at it as they're frustrated that Jericho won't make a decision, and therefore they're going to leave him because he won't make a decision. It's not like Don Callis did anything to these people. So, when I was watching this scene, I was thinking three things. One, Jericho Appreciation Society sucked anyway. So I'm glad it's dead because it sucked balls anyway. Two, what did Don Callis do to these people? Three, what did Chris Jericho do to these people? At least Sammy Guevara got hit in the head with not Sammy Guevara, but Daniel Garcia got hit in the head with a bat. The rest of these people, he didn't do anything to these people. He just didn't have an answer to a question that you asked him in a timely manner. But Don Callis is his friend. So I'm sitting here scratching my head like it was a strong segment. The problem is we were looking for the why. Why is this guy acting like this? Why is this girl acting like this? Why is she so upset? It's, well, we're appreciating Jericho. When does Jericho appreciate us? It's like, was that ever promised you? Did Jericho ever promise that he was going to appreciate you? No. This is all about him. What's wrong with you idiots? This took up way too much time. They could have all collectively walked out like that scene. What was that on Monday Night Raw where everybody walked out on Triple H? That's what they should have done. Daniel Garcia should have just said what he had to say and then stormed off, and then everybody should have just followed him. Or everybody except Sammy Guevara, because he actually has something different to say. And Sammy Guevara says that he's always had Jericho's back. He was fighting for the world title, then took a step back to help Jericho fight his battles. He's putting Sting through a table, not because he wanted to, but because Jericho needed him to. And he did all these things because he believed in his heart of hearts that Jericho would do the same for him. But now Jericho is confused and is not, gotten his life together. But Sammy Guevara is not walking out on Chris Jericho like all the others did. He will be waiting to see if Jericho is going to get it together. And if he does, maybe they can still be friends. And then he leaves. So he still kind of walks out. but he didn't have the vitriol that all the others did. All the other ones is just mad at Chris like he did something to them. This was literally an everybody hates Chris segment. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, what did he do to these people? Outside of, give them the biggest platform they've ever had. Like, he legitimately was saying that, like, I helped all of you guys. I lifted you all up. This was a shoot. And all of these people, was like being super entitled, like they deserved more. Like, what the hell? What more does Anna Jay deserve? I don't know. I don't know. But she claimed she was going to win the world title and she didn't. So, I mean, it is what it is with her. Have mercy. We're going to talk about that one later. Oh, goodness. So, Jericho starts talking to Don Callis backstage. Don Callis looks like, man, that was an awful segment. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, that was tough to watch. If I played any hand in that, I apologize. And Jericho says, look, don't worry about it. Next week, I will give you a response to your request to join the family. And I'm going to guess, Jericho is going to turn it down because of all of these people who believed in him, and he can't turn his back on them. He's got to believe in them too, or something to that effect. I get that. I get that the Jericho Appreciation Society, apparently, the biggest why I can come up with is that everybody is offended and feels betrayed by Jericho taking advantage of Daniel Garcia getting hit in the head with the bat. I'm guessing that's why everybody is so upset. But even if but they were mad at Jericho before that. So I don't know. There's some links in the chain missing here. But something tells me that this is Jericho turning babyface. This is not Jericho going deeper into the heel category. So I see a babyface turn coming for Jericho and him feuding with Don Callis in the future, probably with Konosuke Takeshita, and it'll likely be after All In. So I don't know. We'll have to see, but it's out there, I guess. It's just floating around. We'll see. Now the Young Bucks wrestled the Hardys. Poor Hardys. Oh boy. They looked so slow and washed. Because the Young Bucks worked so fast. And it looked like the Young Bucks were running around circles while the Hardys were doing all of the stuff that they usually do. I love the Hardys. Everybody knows that. But they got no business being out there right now. They got really no business being out there. They're, especially Matt. I mean, come on, man. Matt wrestles like he's in cement shoes. He's just got nothing in them legs. Them legs are shot. All right. He got shot legs. It's just no good. Jeff can still do his stuff, but he can't do much else, and basically this is the Young Bucks doing it was them doing all their spots, the Hardys doing all of their spots. Nothing major occurred in this match, except the Hardys didn't look that great doing their stuff. So after the Young Bucks win, they called out FTR and accepted the challenge for All In. All right. That's fine. I knew that was going to happen. So I just, when they played the video of FTR and the Young Bucks, and they were saying, like, this is going to be the match to decide who's the greatest tag team of all time. And I was like, either of these teams even crack the top 25 of the greatest tag teams of all time? Is any of them even in, like, you would have to be, I don't know, 26 to think one of these teams are the best tag teams of all time. Like, if you was even anywhere near 1990, 1989 or something like that, if you have any sort of history of pro wrestling, you can't believe these two teams who are basically the cosplay brainbusters and the cosplay Hardy Boys, like, number one, be original, so you already feel like the first step in being a tag team outside of be two people, two separate people. It's also be original, and you're already both knockoffs of teams that are much better than you. So I already don't put you in the top 10 or 15, In terms of drawing money, I've seen people try to, make the argument that the Young Bucks draw money. And I would say when and where. Well, they was the big stars in Japan. Go to the Bullet Club. Like, Bullet Club wasn't just them. Bullet Club was a bunch of people, Even in the United States, they did a lot of indie shows. I guess you could count All In if you want to count All In, you know. But Bullet Club was a faction. It wasn't the Young Bucks, you know. A faction means more than just one person. It's more than two people. It's like 3 or 4 people, you know. And they were never the main event. Any of these shows that they talk about in Japan, like they be talking about the Young Bucks in Japan, like they main evented every show or something like that. Like they were, I guess, an important part of the card, but in the stature of white boys in Japan, do the Young Bucks even rank when you got Brody and Hanson and Dr. Dusty Williams and Terry Funk? I mean, do these guys even, do they crack the top 10 or 15 most important Caucasians in Japan? I don't know. And maybe I don't know enough about Japanese pro wrestling. I'll bow out of that part of the conversation. But this seems to me like obvious they're trying to make this seem like it's the biggest match it could possibly be. And it is. For both teams, it's the biggest match it could possibly do. But neither one of these teams are anywhere near being the greatest tag team of all time. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you. All right? Neither one of them or anyone. It's not just me hating on the Young Bucks. FTR are also nowhere near one of the greatest tag teams of all time. They struggle to be the best tag team today. You know, until recently was arguing with them and the Usos just a couple of weeks ago. So, no, they're not one of the greatest tag teams of all time, and the Usos aren't either, if we're being honest. They may have been in WrestleMania, only tag team to ever do it outside of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, but they ain't either in terms of the top tag teams of all time. We had to stop with that. All right, let's stop saying that people are the greatest of all time and all this kind of stuff. Just stop being, prisoners of the moment. FTR has good tag team matches. They ain't drawing a fucking dime. And if the Young Bucks ever drew any money, it's in the indies. It's not really on. They continuously lose viewers on their own television show that they, weaseled their way into the office to get on and book themselves to win all the time. And they mysteriously lose viewers every fucking time unless there's a cage involved and somebody's bleeding all over the place and there's thumbtacks and shit. So, neither one of them are the greatest tag teams of all time. Let's talk about MJF and Adam Cole, though, because this was actually far more interesting. So Adam Cole is super excited. He told MJF to wear shorts. I'm like, okay. When your friend is dressing you, you know something's going wrong. Adam Cole thinks they're going skinny dipping, which I was like, what? Why would you even be excited about that? Turns out they're going to a trampoline park. So Adam Cole turns into an absolute 11-year-old, jumping on the trampoline, very, very happy. MJF is standing there pissed. And Adam Cole's telling him about all the fun stuff they got. They got video games. They got a ball pit. They got this. They got that. They got dodgeball. And MJF's like, they got dodgeball. And now he's going to go have fun because he's hitting kids with the dodgeball. And he's saying that how he banged their mom and how the kid is snotty-nosed and stupid and all this kind of stuff. So Adam Cole is upset that MJF is abusing the children with this ball. And he tells him he can't do that. So then a little girl walks up to MJF and Adam Cole and says, "Why are you two grown men in a ballpark? You're nerds." And then they did the fisheye lens, which was a great shot, by the way. It's completely phony, but it's a great shot. Where Adam Cole kneels down and is like, "Little girl, you shouldn't talk like that." And I guess she gave him the stale face. And then Adam Cole gave MJF the okay to bean her with the ball, that was funny. I liked this. This was good. They had a promo segment later on the show as well, where MJF, walked around being super baby facey, completely and totally disingenuous, which is something he probably learned from Cody. And about how his favorite place in the world is the Midwest. Then it was story time with Adam Cole. Adam Cole wants to talk about winning the AEW World Title. So MJF is like, "Oh, you want to do an old promo battle, huh?" And Adam Cole's like, "No." And then MJF starts flying off the handle. He said he's so skinny and white, Hulk Hogan would have snorted him in the 80s. Bruh. Not before Piper got to him. Then he started making more jokes, and now Adam Cole is mad. And he says, I don't want a promo battle. He says that he wants to make more history at All In. This is Adam Cole talking now. So he starts talking about wanting to be the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, because he's never done that. He's won every title except the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship. And he wants to do it with his new best friend, MJF. So MJF calls him a sick pervert for wanting him to wrestle twice on one night. He says he doesn't really want to wrestle at all, and he wants to wrestle more than once a year, But since Adam Cole is his bro Chacho for life, he accepts, and they will challenge Aussie Open, and they're going to wrestle them in Wembley. So MJF is going to wrestle on the pre-show and in the main event. Very interesting. I'm thinking the go home show is a good time to do the turn. Whichever one of them is going to turn, that's going to be your best chance to do it, because that's going to really be a strong drive towards people buying the pay-per-view. Because if you go into the pay-per-view with no heat, then people are just interested in seeing who's going to turn on who. There's going to be a certain amount of people who are not going to be interested in that. But if you do a strong turn on the pre-show, and then in the main event, we continue that story, and you could tell that story throughout the episode, by the way, throughout the event. So let's say Adam Cole turns on MJF. You can, throughout the show, have Adam Cole explain why he turned on MJF. And then MJF's response. And and that show's going to be long. It's probably going to be 5 or 6 hours or some nonsense like that, right? So you can plot throughout the show the main event, even no matter which one turns on the other one. But if you do something silly, like they beat Aussie Open on the pre-show to win the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles, then you have made your main event even more convoluted, because now they're the tag team champions, and now people are going to think they're not going to turn on each other. They're going to have a good, clean match. One of them's going to win, the other one's going to lose. They're going to shake hands. Pyro's going to go off, and the show's going to go over, and it's going to be boring. If you have Aussie Open win, and maybe MJF takes the pin, then maybe you could have MJF be the weak link, quote unquote, of the team. And maybe he has some kind of questions about this, this babyface thing. Maybe he's losing his edge, yada, yada, yada. And you could tell that story throughout the night, that maybe that leads to MJF wanting to turn heel on Adam Cole. And maybe you drop that tease that he's saying that he's been losing a lot, or he's lost 2 matches in a row. He's losing his edge. What does he got to do to get his edge back? And then during the match, he can, want to hit Adam Cole with the belt, or hit him with the, with a hammer or something like that. You could tell that story. Adam Cole getting pinned, you could have MJF get mad at him, blame him for losing. Maybe even tease that he's happy that they lost or something like that. There's a lot of different things you can do. But just doing a match, having a clean winner or loser, and then going on to the rest of the show is you got to use this as an opportunity to further the story and further build the main event. So I think this is actually a pretty clever thing. It's a completely pointless match, and I don't care who wins, because Aussie Open fucking sucks. They're boring as shit, right? They're about as interesting as toilet paper. But at the very least, MJF and Adam Cole can do something interesting in that match, and then work it for the rest of the show. But that's the key part, is whatever you do when it comes to the outcome, whether they win or lose, how they lose, work it throughout the rest of the show. So that means you might have to cut some matches short so that you can do a promo or a build or something. But it has to really bulk up the main event. And I don't believe they're going to do that. Something tells me they're going to do the match win, lose, whatever, and then we won't see these fucking guys again until it's time to main event the show. But that wasn't all. Roderick Strong came out. He said that you want to be a Ring of Honor tag team champion with this guy, who he's talking about MJF. Then he says, instead of your real best friend, a Ring of Honor legend like me. So MJF says that he's tired of his jealous ex-girlfriend energy. He wants him to do what all the weird generic white people do. That's get in his car, go back home, climb the stairs, get in his bed, put his face into a pillow, put on his headphones, listen to some Taylor Swift, and shake it off. This was probably one of the greatest burials on the mic that I've heard in a really long time. That was epic. It was epic. Roderick Strong just sat there and looked completely blitzed. Oh my goodness. Roderick Strong is, look, it's a slam dunk anyway. I mean, it's the basketball equivalent of, Hornswoggle trying to guard Shaq. It's like, no, something bad's about to happen here anyway, but damn, I don't think it was going to be that bad. So, Roderick Strong completely humiliated. Then he's looking to Adam Cole and he's like, you're going to let him talk to me like that? The Kingdom was right about you. And then he walks over to, I think it was Mike Bennett and that piece of shit, Matt Taven, and they hug him and pat him on his head and all this kind of stuff. It was really immature and childish, but they're telling the story now that Adam Cole's friends, his other friends, are unhappy with him about his new friendship with MJF. Everything is about friends in AEW. So then Adam Cole snaps. He turns to MJF and starts pushing him and saying, he's my friend too. You don't do that. You don't talk about him like that. He's my friend too, And so MJF is like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then Adam Cole apologized and they hugged it out, and MJF says, okay, well, go console your friend. Go see what's going on with him. And Adam Cole marches off to go check on Roderick Strong. So it's clear that we see that Roderick Strong's about to join up with Taven and Bennett to, come up with some kind of mutant form of the Kingdom. I'm not a fan of this because it's going to get Matt Taven on television. So I'm not a big fan. But I think that we're looking at a situation in which maybe Cole and MJF win the titles and they defend it against the Kingdom. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe Roderick Strong challenges for the world title. That sucks. I don't know. I can tell you that much. That's a Dynamite main event if I ever heard one. But there's levels of intrigue here that make the story interesting. They added some characters, and the characters have depth because the characters matter. As much as I don't like Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, I know the history between them and Adam Cole. I know the history between Roderick Strong and Adam Cole. I know how everybody feels about MJF. So this all works, at least for me. So I still like the Adam Cole MJF stuff. All right, so the Blackpool Combat Club, they're backstage. Moxley is talking about the best friends. Hope he learned their lesson. They don't belong in a ring with the Lucha Brothers, let alone a parking lot, because they apparently beat up these guys in a parking lot brawl that I didn't bother to watch, because why would I? Claudio then said he warned Pac about, betraying the Blackpool Combat Club, and now he's injured because he did. Then Moxley says that Death Triangle, we don't fear death, death fears us. So then the Lucha Brothers cut a promo where they talked about the spirit of competition and that they don't go out to try to intentionally harm people, which they call it Death Triangle. Not the, spirit of competition triune. It's Death Triangle. There's a goddamn skull in their logo. We're not out to hurt you. We just got skulls all over the place. Anyway, Pentagon starts talking about how they're the best tag team in the universe, and Phoenix said this is for their brother, Pac. And they have the best match of the night, to be quite honest. Claudio and Moxley versus the Lucha Brothers. This was okay. I didn't hate this. The finish came with Moxley snatching off Pentagon's mask and rolling them up and pinning them. And then it was followed by an extensive beatdown segment in which Claudio was wearing Penta's mask and giving him the middle finger this thing was pretty much. It was much. It was a lot going on here. But I think it was the best match of the show. I mean, Moxley was bleeding 3 minutes in, so it wasn't going to be too bad. There was still some botching going on, especially from the Lucha Brothers side. They botched a spike power driver where there was a complete and total delay, where the guy just comes down with the spike supposed to come down simultaneously. You come down and grab the feet, whatever, and that just did not occur. It just didn't occur. But man, Lucha Brothers, whew, they fall off a cliff, didn't they? They used to be tag team champions, used to mean something in this company. Now they don't. Now you got the Blackpool Combat Club just wiping their feet all over them. That's crazy. But not surprising at all. Crazy, but not surprising at all. So we'll see. Second match on the show, actually. FTW title, FTW rules. Rob Van Dam is defeated by Jack Perry. Look, Jack Perry had to win. There was just no question about it. At this point, though, Rob can do his own spots. He actually looked better here than he looked in Impact in a while. Because last time I saw him was in an Impact. I didn't watch him on any of the indies or anything like that. So the last time I saw him, he was really slow and probably chunkier in Impact. But here, he actually didn't look too bad. He looked better than the Hardys did. That's for sure. He still had his flexibility. He wasn't nearly as fast or as nearly as agile as he was. But hell, 30 years, man. I don't expect him to be, 2000s Rob Van Dam. I don't expect that. There's more age on that body now. So that 5-star frog splash is more of a 3 3/4 frog splash now. It's not 5-star anymore. It's more of a 3 3/4. But he's 50 or almost 50 something. It is what it is. I think for a 50-some-odd-year-old man who's probably out there for a one-off, he did pretty good. Jack Perry sold. He took RVD stuff well. RVD did his usual spots. The leg drop on the ring apron, the rolling thunder, pretty much everything. Jack Perry did very little and won via cheating. He low blow, pull of the tights. Well, he ran his head into a chair and then he pulled the tights. So they cheated in 3 different ways, stacked the cheating on top of each other in order to win. That's fine. Perfectly serviceable match. I don't think Jack Perry comes out of this thing looking like a world beater, but then he doesn't have to. He's an undersized heel. Him stealing the win works for his character. Rob Van Dam didn't look terrible. So this was serviceable. It wasn't great, but it was fine. I don't think Rob Van Dam embarrassed himself, and I don't think Jack Perry fucked it up as much as he usually does. So, all is well. Next, Kenny Omega's backstage. Where is he going? What is he doing? Why does he look like he dresses at TJ Maxx? Anyway, he's like, I need to have a sit down with Jim Ross about my future. And I'll do that next week, as the Young Bucks are going to have a tremendous contest with FTR and men in Wembley. I have to think about my own future. Don Callis and Konosuke Takeshita. And I'll sit down with JR about that next week. Thank you very much. And then he walks off. I'm like, all right, whatever. Blah. Go to hell, Omega. Then Swerve Strickland came out to have a promo. And not strong. Not strong at all. Swerve says he had to go and put the fear of God in Nick Wayne, because in his city, Seattle, they know whose house it is, and they're above the law. So then AR Fox got on the microphone, called out Darby. Darby immediately came out and said that Darby lived with AR Fox. He lived with AR Fox and AR Fox's demons. He had to get out of there. And he tried calling AR Fox. He tried to help him. But AR Fox wouldn't answer the phone. But now, here it is. AR Fox has made it to AEW all on his own. I didn't even have to put in a good word for you. You got here on your own. But you're mad that I put in a word for 16-year-old Nick Wayne. And then AR Fox was yelling at him about something indiscriminate. I couldn't hear him. Then he says, I see you got some new friends. Well, I got friends too. So the lights go out, and the lights are out for 3 minutes. Lights come on. Sting's got a bat. He beats up everybody. Then he threatens Swerve. And then he points to Wembley. And then they announced a tag team coffin match. Sting and Darby Allin versus Swerve Strickland and AR Fox. Why? Why? Why does it have to be a coffin match, though? That's what I want to know. Like, this is the first match they've ever had. Why is it a coffin match? You know, like, I guess does the feud really call for it? Why can't Nick Wayne get in on this and make it a 6-man tag? I mean, pick any one of the remaining guys in Swerve's group and make it a 6-man tag. You know, Nick Wayne got his ass beat. He should be, getting some kind of revenge, shouldn't he? I don't know. But apparently it's gonna be Darby Allin and Nick Wayne versus the Gates of Agony. So the two gigantic guys, that Khan guy who is fucking massive, and Toa Leona, who looks like he eats bricks. They're gonna do fucking jobs to Nick Wayne, who looks like an extra from American Pie, and Darby Allin, who looks like a reject from the X Games. And they're gonna do a job to these fucking guys. Like, pro wrestling, boy. God damn, what the hell happened? Like, what happened? Like, there's times, and I think tonight was one of those nights, man, where I just the names being on this show, I'm like, man, there was a time, man, where Rob Van Dam's name, Rob Van Dam and the Hardys been on the same card. It would have been crazy to me. I'd have been like, hell fucking yeah, let's go get it. But then tonight, I was just kind of looking at him like, man, Matt, he ain't got it no more. Jeff, he trying his best, but shit, it ain't 1999. It ain't 2000. It ain't even 2006 anymore. Rob Van Dam, damn, same thing, Prime is at least 10 years gone. Whew, it's not the same anymore. And this, makes me think about it even more. There was a time a guy like Nick Wayne wouldn't even spend 6 minutes in a match with a guy the size of Toa Leona or Brian Cage or something like that. But look at how the business has changed. Where I can tell you a week before it happens that those guys have got no fucking chance of winning over the two small, skinny, pasty. They don't got a snowball's chance next to a hot iron. All right, they ain't got no chance of winning that match. It's embarrassing, bro. Like, it's truly, truly embarrassing. And it's not even about to be an MMA style thing or a Kurt Angle style thing where, this guy's a shooter and, there's no way you could have beat him anyway because even though you're big and strong or whatever, he'd grab you by your wrist and snap it or something like that. These guys wrestle pro wrestling style and they do flips and stuff. Well, Nick Wayne does flips and shit. This stuff's going to be embarrassing. I got cringe in the future. I'm already preparing my body for the cringe of next week. Damn, that shit sucks. Speaking of sucks, the main event of this evening, but not only that, but how they choose to decide who is going to be facing the women's world champion at Wembley. So let's slow down for a moment here, because Excalibur tried to sell to me, wrestling fan, that there is a tradition of AEW having fatal 4-ways for the women's title. And they're going to continue that tradition at All In. Like, what could be more traditional than a one-on-one match for the women's title? What could be basically what you're saying? We want to get all of the women in one match because we're not having another women's match. So we're getting all of the women on one match. I doubt Chris Statlander makes the card. I doubt she makes the card. If she makes the card, I will be surprised. But what they're going to do is they're going to try to put all the women in one match. So they have a tournament, and it's a play-in tournament that you have to beat your opponent to get into the Fatal 4-Way. So Sky Blue has to wrestle Saraya. So Saraya is going to wrestle. You spent all this money on Saraya. She's going to wrestle, but she's going to wrestle on Rampage. Why is she wrestling on? Okay, let's see. The other one is the Bunny, who I forgot is a former Knockouts champion. I was again watching some old TNA pay-per-view, and she was the Knockouts champion. I'm shocked by that, by the way, because I was like, holy moly. For starters, there's a lot of people from Impact 2018 still on the AEW roster. Pentagon and Phoenix was in the main event of the show, and they're still on here. Allie, there's quite a few more if I could put some thought into it. But she's wrestling Britt Baker. Like, come on, man. Why even waste everybody's time? And then they gave Toni Storm a bye. She's utilizing her contractually obligated rematch into a fatal 4-way match where she has less of a chance of winning. Why would she do that? Her agent or lawyer or whatever must be a retard. It'll be the only way you will actually have, I'm going to have my contractually obligated rematch in a fatal 4-way match. So I get a bye. So she got a bye. And then the fourth match was this one. Hikaru Shida versus Anna Jay. Anna Jay gets a title shot for nothing. And she wrestles Hikaru Shida. And this is the main event of the show. Look, I have been a supporter of Hikaru Shida, but this idea of we're just going to put her on the main event, this feels shaky to me. It feels very suspicious. And some people are saying, well, he's taking the sign seriously. Book the women's division better. It's like, by booking the women's division better, what people were saying was book storylines. Okay? Book characters. You know what you're doing with MJF and Adam Cole? Do that with the girls. All right? You know what you're doing with Don Callis and Chris Jericho? Do that with the girls. That's what he's saying. That's what people are saying. They're not saying just put more women in one match. That's not what we meant. Just put the women on last. That's not what the guy meant, I'm sure. I'm sure the guy meant book storylines, flesh out the women's characters, do more with the girls. But he took that as book still one women's match on the show, but it's the main event. And no women's storylines whatsoever. Still no women's storylines. And no follow-up on the Toni Storm character at all. Nothing. She didn't even talk about this. She didn't have to get talked into it or nothing. It's just, this is what she's going to do, and this is what they're going to do, and this is what, okay. And we're just stuck with this. So then they expected me to watch Anna Jay wrestle Hikaru Shida for the title in the main event. You got to be kidding me. I didn't watch this shit. I knew Shida wins. I already know she was going to win. So what's the question? What was the debate here? I knew she was going to win. So what? Did people walk out again? Is that what happened? They saw people walked out last week and they said, you know what? That was unfair. We're going to do it again. We're going to give you a second chance to stay in the building. We're going to lock the doors this time. We're going to close all the merchandise. We're going to lock the doors. We're going to glue you to your seat so you can't walk out on Hikaru Shida this week. It's not her fault. It is not her fault. It is Tony Khan's fault because of the way he books these women's divisions. This sucks. Look, I was in the building when matter of fact, let me take that back. It wasn't very well built. When a decently built Shayna Baszler Ronda Rousey match had people get up and walk the fuck out. All right, went to the bathroom, went and bought t-shirts, farted in the corner, whatever. They went and did something else, literally anything else except watch that shit. That's a decently built women's match. And it was the bathroom break. What do you think is going to happen when you don't have a well-built women's match and it's the main event of your show? People are going to get up and walk out. What is this match going to be on the Wembley show other than this is going to be a 10-hour wrestling festival? If you're going to go to the bathroom or slash some water on your face or go vape or whatever, now it's going to be your time to do it during this obligatory women's fatal 4-way. before we go back to more important things. You know, this is trash, bro. It's trash. But I'm not really a guy who's going to attack Tony Khan for the way he books the women's division. It is what it is, you know. But he ain't booking the women's division like he's serious about it. Shida being the champion right now is not a serious thing. You know, I love Shida. I really do. I think she's good. You know, but they're not doing a good job. They just put the belt on her. No storyline, nothing. They just put the belt on her, and now she's wrestling matches. So it's a joke, you know. You got Jade Cargill out here making twerk videos with French Montana instead of having her on television and building her for your big show. Does she even give a fuck about not working Wembley? I don't think she even cares. Do you care about this girl that you spent a year building and not making that show? I mean, come on. For fuck's sake, come on. Shouldn't he care? Am I wrong in thinking that he's supposed to care about this? I don't know. But maybe he don't because, you know, for the same reason Triple H didn't give a fuck about Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus not being on the show. Like, it is what it is. You know, as long as the guys show up, those are the people that we care about. And, you know, can't say this, you know, he's wrong in that. But this is not what he mean by book the women's division better. We didn't mean just put them in matches and that's it. Like, for Christ's sake, man, build a story. Build a character. Let's do something else. Let's try again. You know, tomorrow is another chance to try again. Okay. Let's wrap this up. The show was mid. I like the storyline elements that they have been introducing lately. They did a good job of switching the format. So they've been spending more time with Jericho, spending more time with MJF and Adam Cole. And I think that it will actually bear fruit in the ratings. The ratings will actually go up as more people are going to be invested in these stories, at least hopefully. You would hope they would be more invested in the Adam Cole MJF story because that's the A story on the show. But you would hope that the Jericho story can draw viewers because if it doesn't, then that first segment is going to bomb hard. It was a long one. Let me mention this real quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Why is Johnny Morrison? Why is John Morrison on Rampage? Why is he Johnny TV? Why is he involved with QT Marshall? Why is he not on Collision? Why is this guy not on Collision? I don't understand. Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. Why is he stuck here on this position? Why is it that who sorted the talent? That's what I want to know. When it comes to talent sorting, and certain people got the hungry hunky hippos, the locker room. I want this guy. I want that guy. I want this guy. I want that. How did they skip over Johnny? Who decided that Johnny was a Rampage guy? Like, who made that decision? Because if we can't get him on Dynamite, we can't get him on Collision, we can get him on Rampage. I'm not watching Rampage, bro. Oh, buddy. Yeah, ain't nothing I can do about that. I just had a question. You know, it's sad. Let's get Johnny on Collision. Why can't we get Johnny on Collision to do something meaningful? You know, or on Dynamite doing something meaningful. I'm okay with that too. But this QT Marshall thing, nah, man, that's about as bad as the water gun stuff he was doing in WWE. You know, could this guy have worse luck? You know, he was really great in Impact for a time, and then Impact went belly up. He was great in Lucha Underground, and Lucha Underground went belly up. You know, the only place he wasn't great that's still around is WWE. He was great in ECW, and then that went belly up. Oh, man. Poor fellow, man. Johnny Mundo, John Morrison. What an amazing talent. And look at how he's getting treated. It's unfortunate. But that's AEW in a nutshell for you. We got time. We got all the time in the world for skinny high school kids. We got no time for John Morrison. Oh, well. Them's the breaks. What do you guys think about Dynamite? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.